Hello, welcome to this week's discussion. I'm Carmen, your divine synergist of Heart's Joy. I empower you to understand why you're here and how to live on purpose and in divine harmony. I interweave numerology, angel guides, astrology, and coaching to guide you along your spiritual journey. Every week we have a discussion, and this week's discussion is how to discern in today's society. Thank you all so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or live chat below. And you may hear a cat sound in the background. That would be Bubbles. All right. So how to discern in today's society? What an interesting question, right? What I have found is we are so quick to judge. It's a snap judgment. And it's time that we get to relearn a new way to interact. And this is all of us, myself included. So the question is, how can you discern? How do you observe? Are you observing? And start thinking for yourself and truly living intentionally. Have you ever thought about that? What does that mean to live intentionally? Are you intentionally doing something, saying something, or is it just you're a robot throughout the day? Now, I'm seeing patterns when I interact with others and how we project our own fears without even realizing what we've done. It's just a reaction with no observation of what just happened. And then people just continue to move forward without even realizing, whoa, hang on, time out. So for example, when someone shares with you a new idea, or maybe a different thought form, different way of doing things than how you're currently living your life, what's your first reaction? So a great example of this is your best friend introduces you to sushi for the very first time. You've never had it before in your life. You've heard about it. What's your reaction? Do you yuck their yum? Do you tell them they're crazy? That's something you would never do. How could they do that? Just because it's something you've never done, you haven't had that experience, are you quick to judge this different thought form? Or do you observe and step into curiosity? Can you truly step back and observe? And observance is just, think of it as you're, in an airplane, 50,000 feet above, looking down, observing, saying, oh, well, isn't that interesting? What will you do to step into the observant role instead of reaction? Someone had shared with me an interaction that they had last week, and I started to think, do people really believe everything that they read on the internet? Do people believe everything that's on mainstream media? Do people believe others' opinions? Which, by the way, is just an agreement, because when we believe their opinions or their projections, then we've made an agreement between each other. That's what the 4 agreements talks about. That's why we take things personally. When will you choose to start to think for yourself? Choice is what we talked about last week. Take your power back. When will you start to think for yourself? When will you start to look beyond, for example, the mainstream media, the mainstream news, and be discerning? Last year, I went to a friend and said, okay, can you help me understand this one political viewpoint? And they talked me through it. And then at the end, they said, well, you're not reading both sides. And I said, no, I'm not reading both sides. Interesting, right? It's kind of like what we think about or what we read or what we want, whatever's our focus is what we see, is what we notice. For example, if you want a Jeep, guess what you're going to continue to see? A Jeep. If you want a red vehicle, what will you continue to see? Red vehicles. Like that's the only thing driving on the road these days. It's because that's your brain has decided to send that to your awareness because that's what you're focused on. And when I realized that I was so focused on just this one political party and I didn't actually read both sides, all of it, all of the above from different sources, different people, it completely changed how I looked at it. And I could actually see the rhetoric for what it is. Rhetoric on this side, rhetoric on this side, rhetoric over here. I could see how it's creating division on purpose because I stepped into the curiosity instead of allowing it to trigger me. I guess the first question would be, are you even willing to do that? Or are you so stuck and tied and bound to your beliefs that you don't want to look at it any other way? That's what beliefs do. They're not good nor bad. It just is what it is. And a belief is almost like a prison for us. It can keep us locked up in a cell. Not to say it's okay to have beliefs. I have a few myself. But once I started to understand the difference between beliefs and an understanding is almost like a corridor, right? And so I could go to my right, I'm at the end, I could go to my left, I could go whichever way I'd like. I get to choose. I'm at choice. Now I've empowered myself versus I have a belief. A lot of my clients who, that's the first thing I ask them is who or what is God to you? Everybody gives a different answer. Some people are triggered by the word God. Some people think God's human. And some people are really stuck and bound to it. Now, for the people who come to work with me, especially in the Live on Purpose course, they are not tied and bound to it because they've learned to have that understanding and they've experienced something different than what they were taught or what they grew up with, knowing. Isn't that interesting how people can shift and move as they step into curiosity? My experience is that there's a lot of things that we miss because we're so stuck, tied, and bound in our beliefs, because we're so stuck, tied, and bound to what other people are telling us. We cannot hear, we cannot see anything else. We won't allow ourselves to. Heaven forbid you no longer think or see things like you were raised. And now you're the quote unquote black sheep in the family. Y'all, I grew up being the black sheep, and at this point, pick a color because I don't even know what it looks like. I'm okay with being the odd one out. It's okay. Aren't we all just wearing spacesuits anyway in order to live here on Earth? Because keep in mind, we chose this. Your soul chose this time, this life, this body, right now, this family, everything, because we have work to do. And if you're listening to this message, you know that you are one of them. Pick a label. It's just a label. If you identify as a starseed, a way shower, human angel, any and all of the above, a light worker, we have work to do. And as we start to step out of this ego and this fear-based system that has been created and built for us to navigate through, now that we're seeing all of that, there are other new constructs that we get to play within. I'm playing in one right now, and I freaking love it, and it's completely changed my life. Isn't it interesting how as we start to do these new ways of living and have these new ways of being and have this new thought form, how much your life can transform, how much your life can shift? All because I stepped into curiosity. Now, sometimes fear and old stories and past experiences creep in. It's how we handle it when they creep in. Because they do. They totally do. And how do you say, nope, not happening today? I know that that's a fear from an old story. I know that that's my old past coming in to say, you gonna do something different? How you gonna show up now? Just testing you to see how far have you learned? How much have you learned? We gonna do it a new way now? Or are you gonna go back to your old ways? The power is in the choice. Take back your power. One of my favorite questions is, how do you know what's real or in your highest good? How do you know? For me, don't attach yourself to if it's real or not. Observe. Step into curiosity. As I was, reading the political party over here and reading the political party over here and reading something else over here about the political party, about this political party, I could actually read and consume all of that information and discern for myself. Because this is all they're doing, which is third dimensional perspective. That's all they're doing is pointing fingers at each other, and it's a blame game. And they're calling it an awakening. There is an awakening happening. Just it's not happening when you're in this and pointing fingers at each other in the blame game. That's the third dimension. I call it playing in the sandbox. Take off my glasses here, and you can. These are my sandbox glasses, right? It's not pretty. It's very dark. It's a very heavy energy. And when you start to observe and step into curiosity and can detach from it, and it's okay if it's not real or not, because you ultimately know, listen to your body. That's when you're stepping into this higher energy. Energy is not good nor bad. It just vibrates at different levels. Higher vibration, lower vibration. So when it comes to the question, is this real? Listen to your body. You have all of the answers within yourself. You are not separate from God. God lives within you. Tap into that. Tap into that knowingness. Could there be a little bit of kernel of truth to it? Yeah. Don't get attached to it. Step out of the fighting. Step out of the you're right, I'm wrong. Step out of that. Listen to your body. I can tell so many different things when I listen to my body. If somebody's angry at me, I could tell it by listening to my body. When I'm not supposed to make that decision, nope, that's not the way I want you to go. That's a really bad idea. Man, I feel it, and I always will feel it in the same place every single time. And everyone is different. That's why I ask my clients, what is it for you? Notice your patterns. You see, when we don't listen to ourselves or listen to our intuition, that means we aren't trusting ourselves, which ultimately we're saying, yeah, God, I don't trust you. What? But we do that all the time. It's just like the Wizard of Oz. You have all of the wisdom and the answers inside of you. It's a matter of unlocking them. And a lot of times it's a matter of just clearing out the gunk and getting past the experiences we had in the past, creating new experiences so that we can have a different way of living. Your soul has wisdom from lifetime, lifetime, and lifetime, multiple lifetimes. Don't believe in past lives, just know that your soul holds this wisdom and brings it with you every single lifetime. Have you ever said, I know that I know and I don't know how I know? That's the soul. And there are multiple levels to the soul. That's your wisdom, that's your intuition. No one else has that but you. Some of this that I've shared with you in this week's discussion is from the 4 Agreements. And it's a book you can, purchase, start to read for yourself. And this is something that when you start to really practice it in your daily life, it truly will shift things for you. It's interesting because you'll start to learn what agreements you've made in the past that you're hanging on to in the present that aren't serving you. And when you look at just the 4 agreements, they're okay, well, that's easy. I can do that. When you read the book and really dive into each agreement and how it's pretty much running your life, you can see where you get to shift in your life. And this book, The 4 Agreements, is what we're currently discussing in the membership group. Every month, there's a video, about maybe 20-minute video or so, where we're going through the book. It's a group of like-minded communities supporting each other along your spiritual journey. So right now, the 4 Agreements is our monthly lesson. There's also other teachings in the memberships that I'll share as well that are not shared anywhere else. You'll also receive twice a month live group coaching, similar to office hours, all via Zoom. The lessons will be via PDFs. So not only are you reading, you'll also be journaling and really doing a deep dive into the 4 Agreements. And after we're done with the 4 Agreements, there'll be another book or lesson to focus on, another topic. You receive audio meditations, a new moon, and a full moon card reading, all for only $33 a month. I'll go ahead and drop that link below. Now is a beautiful time to go inward. Step into that curiosity. Step into your wisdom of who you already are. You were never broken. You may feel broken. You were never broken. Everything was divinely and is divinely happening. I'd be honored to support you along your spiritual journey. Join me next week, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for next week's discussion. Sending you all much love.